Hi, I'm Meredith Bell, President and co-founder of Performance Support Systems, and I'm excited today to be able to have a conversation with Tony DiRico, the founder of Profit Hunters International. Tony, welcome.
Thanks, Meredith. Appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Well, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your business and how we came to work together. So if you could describe a little bit about what you do and what led you to looking at our program.
Of course. Thank you. Well, actually, let me take you back a little further than what you asked for. I spent 35 plus years in hotel business, and one of the most frustrating things I always found was, how do you hire and develop world-class employees? And probably my biggest frustration was around salespeople and general managers. And, kept training them and training them. We thought we were hiring the right people. And then it came to me, I think in 1991, that attitude, behaviors, personality, all the term everybody's using today is emotional intelligence, right? And so we started doing behavioral testing. The performance went through the roof. We were hiring tigers on a regular basis instead of sheep. Whereas randomly, I think before we were just bringing in whatever the market was, right? We had 10 sheep and 10 tigers, they applied, and we hired 20 people. I had a 50-50 chance of being successful. And then in 2006, my wife told me I had to get the heck out of the house because I kind of semi-retired and go earn a living again. I don't know why. And so I started my company called Profit Hunters International. Got a few interesting comments like, why are you so crass? Profit hunting? I said, everybody wants a profit. The guy that works at McDonald's wants a profit at the end of the day. The manager wants a profit. The owner wants a profit. I don't know anybody that doesn't want a profit. I'm the chairman of a nonprofit, and I love to have $5 million in profits, which is called donations. So my company, we work with hundreds of companies around the country, around the world, and we have been providing them the premier behavioral assessment system called Winslow Profiles and Reports. And it's a 300 question diagnostic tool providing 24 personality traits like sociability, coachability, ambition, self-confidence, mental toughness, all these conscientiousness, right? Well, people show up and do a good job at work. Mm-hmm. And so we have the ability, it's kind of like a blood test for a doctor. And one of the things I had missing was my clients would all say, okay, now we know what we got. What are we going to do about it? I said, well, if you want personalized coaching, we can provide that. But if you're looking for skill training, some sort of training, I'd refer them to Skillsoft or, I forget the 2 or 3 companies out there, not Proctor, but I forget the names. But there's a handful of companies that would do the actual training part. And so that was a gap. And then where you and I bumped into each other at the local pub that night drinking, iced tea.
Called LinkedIn.
Oh, LinkedIn. My pub. It's a pub called LinkedIn. Don't forget, the pub called LinkedIn. Look me up, Tony DiRico. Connect with me. No. We connected. We bumped into each other, and I don't know who made the first move. And you showed me yours. I showed you mine. And it was just a perfect match. I was impressed. You sent me a brochure or a one single page flyer of your 64 training programs. And I saw the words in our assessment. I think self-confidence, trust. Help me along. What were some of the other words?
Oh, well, compassion, courage.
Yeah. Well, those weren't on our assessment, but there is about a half a dozen of them that were directly the same word we used in our assessment was the exact same word you used. Mm-hmm. Right? And I thought it was, serpentitious, whatever.
Serendipitous.
There we go. I knew you'd get it out of here. That we had to meet and we had to see if we liked each other because I don't do business with people I don't like. And we now have rolled it out. We've got Don Grove, an owner of a pharmacy in Warsaw, using it. Mike Palmer, another guy that's got 5 pharmacies, is using it. Hell, the nonprofit, right? Karen Sapp, I forget what city they're in. They have a nonprofit called Pause for the Cause, or is it Pause with a Cause? And they train service dogs for people that are in need. It's a $4 million a year nonprofit. They're a client, and they just now have started to use the product because they saw that not only did they have a need for our service, but how your product will help their leaders and employees actually improve their overall performance.
And one of the neat things that we were able to do was map the 24 traits on the Winslow assessment with the interpersonal skills as well as the what we call personal strengths on ours, so that when someone gets hired using your assessment, if there's a shortfall between what the job requires them to do and what their assessment showed, then they can get pointed to our program and the areas that will address those.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, anytime they have a characteristic that's high, nobody ever thinks they need to improve upon that. But yeah, so the initial focus with the clients we've introduced it to is saying, oh my God, this person's low in trust. And then we, as you said, we mapped it. And I believe there's about 15 to 20 maybe individual training programs for that one characteristic. And as I've told my clients, is that with one of our, and I think you and I disagree on this, but won't be the last thing we disagree on, is that pick 2 or 3 areas that you want the individual, and the individual would like to improve upon, and say, here's what you're going to work on, start creating a training, syllabus, for no better term, and these are the things they need to start working on. Absolutely perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the difference there is we encourage people to choose one to work on for a while because it's a process of rewiring their brain. Since they're not just logging in and getting information, they're actually going out and practicing it.
And you know how I deal with doing one thing at a time.
I do. I do.
Not my style.
So, Tony, let's wrap up by just talking about what do you see as the potential of this with some of your other clients? How do you see them benefiting from using this?
It's huge. Huge, I say. We, as you know, Meredith, we're in the process right now. In the next couple of months, we're focused on the independent pharmacy industry. And I've got a couple clients. For example, there is a client called APPA, which is got 2,800 pharmacy owners as members who represent 8,000 stores. They have agreed to host webinars, as you know, because you're going to be part of that series. So I envision in the next 12 months, we'll have another 1,600 pharmacies that are going to use our combined services. So that's, and then there's another group of 5,000. So it's a huge opportunity.
Well, thank you. I think this will help the folks watching this be thinking about ways that they might be able to use this within their own organizations or associations or companies.
And here's the medical diagnosis, the analogy I'd give you. My assessment, see, most companies, as I'd say, I'm a general practitioner. Do you remember the TV show House?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm kind of like House, a little eccentric, a little weird. And people come to us, corporations, with an ailment. And we use our Winslow assessment as the diagnostic of it. It's like a blood test. And then I see your product being the prescription to solve the problem, right? So if the blood test says low in ambition, well, here's the solution. And so that's the pictures that I see in my brain, is that I'm House and you are the pharmacist giving out the drugs.
Well,
I told you, weird.
I know. Well, thank you for your time today, Tony. I appreciate your sharing your experience and look forward to our next conversation.
It's a pleasure. Do it anytime.